The DNA test that broke my marriage. I didn't expect my marriage to end in a laboratory, not in an argument, not in another woman's arms, but in a sealed envelope. The day my husband told me our son wasn't his, something inside me stopped breathing. My name is Claire. I've been married to Daniel for 11 years. We have one child, or at least I thought we did. Our son, Liam, is 7. He has Daniel's dark hair, my eyes, a quiet personality that makes people smile. Daniel used to call him my shadow. Until the doubt started, it began subtly. Comments about how Liam didn't look exactly like him. Jokes about genetics, small remarks that didn't feel harmless. At first, I ignored them. Marriage has phases. People say things when they're stressed. Daniel had been distant for months, working late, guarded with his phone, emotionally unreachable. I thought he was overwhelmed. I never imagined he was building a case against me. One night, after dinner, Daniel placed an envelope on the kitchen table. No emotion on his face. "Explain this," he said. Inside was a DNA report, bold letters, probability of paternity, 0%. My hands shook. "This isn't real," I whispered. "It's certified," he replied coldly. "I took Liam for testing last week, without telling me, without asking, without hesitation. I couldn't process it. I never cheated on you. That's what they all say. They all." That phrase sliced through me. He had already decided I was guilty. The report wasn't a question. It was a verdict. The next few days were a nightmare. Daniel stopped touching Liam, stopped speaking to him the same way. He began sleeping in the guest room. He contacted a lawyer. I was accused of fraud, of deception, of paternity manipulation. I felt like I was living inside someone else's life because I knew the truth. I had never been unfaithful, not once, not emotionally, not physically. So how was this possible? I requested a copy of the report, studied it. The lab name looked legitimate. The signature was digital. Everything seemed official. But something felt wrong. The test date. It showed the sample was collected 3 days before Daniel said he took Liam. That detail kept replaying in my head. 3 days before. How? When I confronted him, he grew defensive. "You're focusing on details instead of admitting the truth. There is no truth to admit. You're lying." His certainty terrified me, because he didn't want answers. He wanted confirmation, and confirmation requires evidence, even false evidence. Then something happened that changed everything. Liam came into the room while we were arguing. "Daddy, why are you mad at Mommy?" Daniel froze, and for a split second I saw hesitation in his eyes. Not doubt, fear. That was the first time I questioned not the test, but him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed every moment of the past year. His late nights, his secrecy, his sudden suspicion. What if this wasn't about doubt? What if this was about escape? What if he needed a reason to leave? And a child that wasn't his would free him from obligation. I called the laboratory listed on the report. The woman on the phone checked the reference number. "I'm sorry," she said. "That file number does not exist in our system." My blood ran cold. "Are you sure?" "Yes, we have no record of that case." That's when I understood. The envelope wasn't proof, it was fabrication. But why? Why would a man fake a DNA test to destroy his own family? I didn't confront him immediately. I needed proof, because accusations without evidence would only make me look desperate. If he forged a test, what else was he planning? The lie was bigger than the test. After the lab confirmed the report was fake, I didn't feel relief. I felt something colder. Strategy. Daniel wasn't confused, he wasn't insecure, he was preparing something, and the DNA test was just the beginning. The next morning he acted calm, too calm. "I spoke to my attorney," he said while pouring coffee. "I'll be filing for divorce." "On what grounds?" I asked, evenly. "Paternity fraud." He said it like it was a business term, not an accusation that could destroy my reputation. "You're sure about that?" I asked quietly. "I have proof." He tapped the envelope on the counter. Proof that didn't exist. But he believed I didn't know that. I started checking our finances. Carefully. Quietly. Daniel had always managed our joint accounts. I trusted him. Now I examined every transaction. 3 months ago, he opened a separate account. 2 months ago, large transfers began. Rent payments, furniture purchases, utility bills. For an address I didn't recognize, I searched it. A luxury apartment downtown, not cheap, not temporary, permanent. I drove there one afternoon, parked across the street, waited. An hour passed. Then I saw him. Daniel walked out of the building, and he wasn't alone. A woman followed him, younger, confident, comfortable. She didn't look surprised to be there. She looked established, as if she belonged. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I followed him. They went to a park, sat on a bench, and then something happened that made my chest tighten. She handed him an ultrasound photo. My hands gripped the steering wheel. He leaned in, smiled, kissed her forehead. That's when everything connected. He wasn't trying to escape me because of doubt. He was trying to erase me because of replacement. The plan became clear. If Liam wasn't his, he could walk away clean. No child support, no custody battle, no long-term financial obligation, and he could build a new family without legal complications. The fake DNA test wasn't about truth, it was about convenience. That night, he confronted me again. "I'll make this easy," he said. "Sign the papers and I won't pursue damages." Damages. For something I didn't do. "You're very confident," I replied. "I know what I saw in that report." "And where did you get it?" I asked. His jaw tightened. "That's not your concern." But it was, because I now knew the lab never issued it, which meant one of two things. He forged it, or someone forged it for him. Either way, it was criminal. I contacted a forensic document examiner, quietly, privately. Within days, the result came back. The signature on the report was digitally altered. The formatting inconsistent with the lab's official templates. The document was fabricated completely. I stared at the confirmation email. My husband didn't just doubt me, he committed fraud to erase our child, to escape responsibility, to replace us. When I looked at Liam sleeping that night, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't about marriage anymore. It was about protection. Daniel was willing to emotionally abandon his own son for convenience. What kind of man does that? And what else was he capable of? The next move had to be careful. If I accused him too early, he would deny everything. If I stayed silent too long, he would file first. And the fake DNA report could influence initial hearings. I needed timing and leverage. The following week, he announced he'd be staying elsewhere temporarily. I didn't ask where, I already knew. The apartment, the woman, the unborn child. He believed he was ahead. He believed I was cornered. He believed I would collapse under accusation. He underestimated one thing. I had proof, and I was patient. The courtroom wasn't ready for the truth. Daniel filed first, just like I expected. Divorce petition, accusations of infidelity, claim of paternity fraud. He even requested emergency temporary custody review, not because he wanted Liam, but because he wanted legal positioning. His confidence in the courtroom was unsettling. He believed he had destroyed my credibility. He believed the DNA report would silence me. He didn't know I had already dismantled it. The first hearing was brief, preliminary, procedural, but Daniel's attorney presented the DNA document dramatically. As you can see, Your Honor, the probability of paternity is 0. The judge glanced at it, then at me. Mrs. Harper, do you dispute this report? Yes, I said calmly. On what basis? Fraud. Daniel's expression changed slightly. Just slightly. My attorney stood. We have obtained forensic analysis of this document. She handed copies to the judge. And we have official written confirmation from the laboratory that no such test was ever performed. The courtroom grew quiet. Daniel shifted in his seat. This is a misunderstanding, he said quickly. No, my attorney replied. It is fabrication. The judge studied the documents. The lab confirms the reference number does not exist. Yes, Your Honor. And the signature? Digitally altered. Daniel's lawyer attempted damage control. My client may have been misled by a third-party service, but Daniel interrupted. I didn't know it was fake. That was the first crack, because earlier he had insisted it was certified, absolute, verified. Now it was confusion. The judge's voice hardened. Mr. Harper, submitting falsified evidence in family court is a serious matter. Daniel swallowed. I was told. By whom? Silence. Because naming anyone would expose the source, and the source was likely himself. After the hearing, the hallway became a battlefield. How dare you? He hissed at me. How dare I? I replied quietly. You tried to erase your own son. He clenched his jaw. You don't understand. No, I said. I understand perfectly. Word spread quickly. Family, friends, colleagues. Not about the affair, not about the pregnancy, about the fake DNA test. Because court records are public, and once the accusation of fraud appeared, it overshadowed everything else. His narrative collapsed. The other woman found out next, not from me, from online records. She called me, her voice shaking. Is it true? Yes. He told me you cheated, that Liam wasn't his. That's what he wanted you to believe. There was silence on the line. Then she said something that confirmed everything. He said once that if he could start clean, everything would be easier. Start clean. That's what we were. Messy details from his previous life. When she confronted him, he denied everything, blamed legal confusion, blamed emotional stress, blamed me. But lies unravel when exposed in court. And once someone proves you forged evidence, every other statement becomes questionable, even to the person carrying your child. The second hearing was decisive. The judge dismissed the paternity claim, ordered an official court-supervised DNA test. Daniel objected weakly, but he couldn't refuse. 2 weeks later, the official result arrived. Probability of paternity 99.9999%. Daniel was Liam's father. There was no ambiguity, no excuse, no escape. When the result was read aloud, Daniel didn't look at me. He looked at the floor, because the truth was no longer negotiable. The fake report wasn't doubt, it was intention. And intention matters in court. The judge addressed him directly. Mr. Harper, the court takes falsified submissions extremely seriously. Sanctions were discussed, financial penalties, possible criminal investigation. Daniel's attorney requested private negotiation, because public exposure was already damaging enough. After the hearing, I saw him outside. For the first time since this began, he looked afraid. "You've ruined everything," he said quietly. "No," I replied. "You did." The other woman moved out of the apartment a week later. I heard through mutual contacts that she left town, pregnant, disillusioned, alone. Daniel tried contacting her. She stopped responding. Because if he could fake DNA once, he could fake loyalty too. But the story wasn't finished. Because legal consequences don't end with exposure, they escalate. The truth cost him everything. After the official DNA result confirmed what I had known all along, something changed in Daniel. Not remorse, exposure. He stopped pretending innocence, stopped arguing loudly, stopped making dramatic accusations. Instead, he became quiet. And quiet guilt is louder than anger. The court did not treat the fake DNA report lightly. Submitting falsified evidence in a custody dispute isn't just immoral, it's illegal. Daniel's attorney pushed hard for settlement outside extended hearings, not because Daniel wanted peace, but because extended litigation would mean deeper investigation into finances, into communications, into intent. And intent was the most dangerous part, because this wasn't confusion. It was calculated. During mediation, Daniel's posture shifted from confident to cautious. He no longer demanded sole custody. He no longer questioned Liam's legitimacy. Instead, he asked for shared parenting time, quietly, almost humbly. But humility doesn't erase damage. The financial settlement reflected his actions. The judge considered his attempt to evade child support through fabricated evidence as bad faith, and bad faith matters. He was ordered to pay full child support, cover legal fees, transfer a larger share of marital assets, not as punishment, as consequence. That distinction is important. His professional life suffered next. Court records are accessible, and in his line of work, corporate consulting, credibility is currency. Clients began distancing themselves, contracts paused, partnerships hesitated. No one wants to associate with someone who falsifies official documents, especially not in business. His parents were devastated, not by the affair, not by the pregnancy, but by the fraud. "You tried to erase your own son," his mother said once during a family meeting. He didn't respond, because there was no defense. As for the other woman, she left the city entirely. The pregnancy continued, but not with Daniel beside her. Trust, once cracked, rarely rebuilds in unstable foundations. If he could fake a DNA report about one child, what would stop him from doubting another? That question alone was enough. Daniel requested to see Liam privately for the first time after months. The supervised visit was awkward. Liam didn't understand court documents. He didn't understand forged reports. He only understood absence. "Why did you say I wasn't your son?" he asked quietly. Children don't ask with accusation. They ask with confusion. Daniel couldn't answer, because no explanation sounds reasonable when the truth is selfishness. Watching that interaction hurt more than the hearings, because betrayal between spouses is painful, but betrayal of a child is permanent. You can't explain away rejection, even if it was strategic, even if it was temporary, even if it didn't mean anything. To a child, it always means something. The divorce finalized 6 months later. There were no dramatic speeches, no last-minute pleas, no emotional breakdowns, just signatures. Cold, official, irreversible. Daniel looked smaller leaving the courthouse than he had when he first accused me. Not because he lost money, not because he lost reputation, but because he lost moral ground. And that's harder to recover. Life after didn't magically improve. I became a single mother overnight. Court schedules, therapy appointments, school adjustments. Liam struggled for a while. Not academically, emotionally. He had heard the arguments, seen the distance, felt the shift. Trust, even for children, requires consistency. Daniel worked to rebuild that slowly. Visitation, phone calls, apologies. But rebuilding after attempted erasure is fragile work. 1 year later, I ran into Daniel unexpectedly at a school event. He looked older, more tired, less certain. "I thought I could start over," he said quietly. "By destroying what you had?" I replied. He didn't answer, because the truth had finally settled in. You don't build a clean future by fabricating the past. You don't escape responsibility by rewriting biology. And you don't erase a child because it's convenient. People sometimes ask me what hurt most: the accusation, the forged report, the affair, the pregnancy. None of those. What hurt most was realizing how quickly someone could turn love into strategy, how easily a husband could weaponize doubt, how fast trust could be converted into leverage. That was the real shock. But here's what I learned. Truth doesn't panic. Truth doesn't need fabrication. Truth waits patiently. And when it surfaces, it doesn't just defend itself, it exposes everything built against it. Daniel tried to rewrite reality. He tried to delete responsibility. He tried to engineer a clean exit. Instead, he documented his own collapse with a fake report, with a forged signature, with a lie that couldn't survive verification. The DNA test didn't break my marriage. His intention did. The paper was fake, but the betrayal was real, and in the end, the truth cost him more than honesty ever would have.